when we examine our opening page of Genesis, we see that after this initial statement of universal creation, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That combination of opposites, universal creation is what's meant there. Heaven and earth means everything in between as well. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and immediately there's something that needs to be solved, a puzzle. A puzzle to be solved, here it is, and the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. So we have this formless, empty, dark, and deep world. How many have seen the Kevin Costner film Waterworld? Anybody see that terrible film? Okay, awful film. Okay, what's wrong with the world and the water world? Where's the dry land, right? And the key to this particular film's story is that there's a map tattooed on the back of a 10-year-old girl. The map shows the way to dry land. Now, how can you have a map of the ocean that shows the way to dry? I don't understand how it works. Isn't it water? Yeah. How can you have a map of water? But anyway, there's a map that shows the way to dry land. So everyone's after this little girl, including some rather nasty guys, one played by Dennis Hopper. So here's the problem. It's a watery mess. The word formless and void is actually a phrase that appears nowhere else in the Bible. Tohu vavohu. Kind of a funny word to say. Everyone say tohu vavohu. There's your first Hebrew lesson. It is translated formless and void. Sometimes Isaiah or other texts speak of the world under divine judgment as being a tohu. There it means a wilderness, unsettled, uncivilized. Here it means chaos. And so the world, as it emerges in the first work of God, has a problem to be solved. Where is there a fit place for human life within this world? That's the problem with formless, empty, dark and deep. Tohu vavohu, formless and void. But the solution to this problem happens in the very next line. At the end of verse 2, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the water. So here we have the Divine Spirit, I would say the second person of the Trinity, using Christian terms here. And this word hovering is like the motions of mother birds over their nests. Here is the Spirit of God like a mother bird hovering over the nest of the world, pondering. Okay, we're going to bring it now into fullness. We're going to fill it. We're going to shape it and fill it. And the rest of Genesis 1 is the story of the forming of the realms, so they are no longer tohu, and then the filling of the realms, so they are no longer empty or bohu. Okay. So formless and empty, okay, two problems. We're going to form it. In fact, the work of the first 3 days is a work of forming. And the work of the next 3 days is the work of filling. So God is going to solve this problem. Now, it so happens that in each of the 6 days of the creation account, we have a general pattern, which is shown here on the screen, an announcement, and God said. And then a command, let there be light. And then we have a report, and there was light. And then typically we have a naming. God called the light day. The darkness he called night. Then we have a valuing, not an evaluating, but a valuing, a valuation. God saw that the light was good. And then we have a time reference. There was evening, there was morning, day 1. Okay, so we have that pattern in each of the 6 days, generally. Sometimes a day might omit 1 or 2 of the elements in the pattern, but the pattern is there generally for each of the 6 days. And so Genesis 1 is very much schematic language. That is, it follows a pattern. It is patterned language, very carefully crafted by our divine author. Now, turn to the next screen now. A second pattern is over the expanse of the 6 days themselves. I already mentioned this pattern of forming and filling. So on days 1 through 3, we have the forming of the basic realms of the world. First, there's the primordial realm of light. Then God says, let there be an expanse. This is the day 2 command. let there be an expanse separating waters above from waters below. Now, if you're a good Israelite, how do you know that there's water above? It rains on you. And if you're a good Israelite, how do you know that there's water below? You dig. What do you get when you dig?
Water.
Okay, water, the wells. The Israelites know all about wells. So there's water above and there's water below. And the expanse is called rakia in Hebrew. It has the idea of the bowl of heaven. Rakia means something that is beaten out like a copper bowl. And so here's the bowl of heaven separating water above from water below. And on day 2, we have the waters called seas. God called the expanse sky, and there's sea beneath it, and there was evening and morning the second day. And on the third day, let the waters under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry land appear. So what do we have on days 1 through 3? A primordial realm of light, kind of undifferentiated light. Then we have the expanse on day 2 with waters above and waters below. And then on day 3, the dry land rises and appears. So we have dry land surrounded by water around it and water beneath it, and sky above it and waters above the rakia. That's the general worldview, the world picture that arises out of Genesis 1. And so the basic realms of the world are in place. Now, if you're a good Israelite, how do you know that this is true? Well, you look up, and there's the rakia. And when it rains, okay, you're getting the waters above on you. You dig down for your well, and you've got the waters below, or you walk to the seacoast, and there are the waters that surround the dry land. And so you've got sea, land, and sky, the 3 basic realms of the Israelite world. Bear in mind that when Moses is writing this, he's not writing it for modern astrophysicists. Who's he writing it for? What's the occupation of most of his audience? Herdsmen. Most Israelites are herdsmen in the days of Moses. Eventually, in the next generation, they settle on farms in the days of Joshua and the Judges, but most Israelites are herdsmen. So these are not scholars and sages and scientists. Moses speaks in common language so that the Israelite can receive it as the Word of God. And so the Israelite looks at his world and says, ah, God made it. So the fundamental realms of the world are in place in days 1 through 3. One further tidbit for day 3 is green plants. The dry land springs forth with green plants, says day 3. And then on day 4, notice the command. On day 1, the command was, Yehi or, let there be light. What's the command on day 4? Let there be lights. And so God creates the great lights, the text says, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. God also made the stars, says the text. And so we have the realm of light now filled with sun, moon, and stars. On day 2, let's see the next slide now. Next slide.